Hello everyone and welcome to Lab 2 of Learn Tableau Step by Step series. Here I have a basic 6-point agenda of what we will be learning in this video. So in the previous video we did discuss a lot of things about the Tableau public tool, the basic things, and along with that we did also generate a simple report, as you can see here, by adding the dimensions and facts or measures to the respective columns and rows. So the next important step now after generating a report is to save that report, or I can say to publish that report, and that is where the feature of Tableau comes into picture. Now Tableau has a feature where we can publish our report, and also we can distribute that published report to our end user or to any other employee who's working in the same company or who's working in the same project. So now I will be doing some changes in the report and then I will be saving that report. So in changes I will take this sales measure and add it to the rows, and take this category dimension and add it to the columns. As soon as I do that, a vertical bar chart is generated, as you can see. Now I will add one more dimension to get additional information about this vertical bar chart. So I will add the segment dimension to the colors option so that I can get this additional information in a more visualized form. So as soon as I do that, I can see a stacked vertical bar chart is generated. You can see all the different colors for different segments are generated, are kept on top of each other, and therefore it is known as stacked bar chart. So now after generating this report, it's time to save this report. So for saving the report, you can see on top there is an option here of saving. It says save to Tableau public, or I can simply do a Control S. So I'll do a Control S, and as soon as I do the Control S, the window appears here. There is a window appearing here which says Tableau public sign in. Now what exactly do we mean by this Tableau public sign in? Now if you remember, in the previous video we discussed that we were using this Tableau public for our reporting purpose. So now this Tableau public has a feature where if we want to save our workbook, or if we want to save our worksheet or our reports what we are working on, we have to save these reports directly into our Tableau Online. So these are the credentials for Tableau Online. The Tableau Online is a Tableau server, as discussed earlier. This Tableau server saves all of our reports. Now by doing Control S, these reports will not be saved into my laptop or into my machine or into my computer. These reports will be directly saved to the Tableau Online. So therefore, if you have an account, just put the credentials and sign in and you can save these reports. Or if you do not have an account, just create an account and save this report here. Okay, so now we will save this report, and it says that I have a demo workbook which already exists. Do you want to override? I will say yes, I will override this workbook here, and it is doing some background process here, and my report is saved. Now this is Tableau Online public server, so it redirects me to that public.tableau.com, which is a online server where we can save our reports. So as you can see, I have my demo worksheet saved here. Exactly, this is the same worksheet which I do have in my Tableau tool, and this same worksheet is saved here with all the details like the color details, which color is the consumer segment or which color is the corporate segment. So in this way we can save our report in Tableau Online while we are working with Tableau public. So now after saving the report, a question arises that why can't we save this report in our local machine, and why are we saving this report in our Tableau public profile? The answer is very simple. As discussed earlier, we are using this Tableau public tool. Now this public tool is a free version, and this free version has lot of limitations. Now there are other versions also, so let us see what is the exact difference between these versions. So let's go to the Tableau public page here, and we can see there are different versions, different editions here. There is a public edition, which is free. There's a personal and a professional edition which have the respective prices. Now on the left hand side there is an option which says saves files to. Now in the public version we have only one option which says that we can save our project and we can save our report only to our Tableau public profile. We have no other options, but we have to save here only. Whereas in personal edition, which is a paid one, we have another option also apart from Tableau public profile, which is that we can save our work to our local machine. And in a professional edition, now as this is a professional, they have a lot of options given here. We can save our work to our local machine also, to our Tableau public profile also, and to our server and Tableau online also. So this professional edition has lot of options. This personal edition has some less options, and this free edition, it has very limited options. So this is the exact difference between these three editions. So in short, we can say that these versions, these editions of Tableau vary in security, data connectivity, or we can say data interactivity and data freshness. So we saw that how to publish a report and where we can publish a report in different versions of Tableau. Now after publishing, the next step comes is the distributing of that report. Now if you are working in a company and where you are working with the report and you want to show that report or you want to share that report with other teammates of yours, so that's where the option of distributing comes. Now the work done in Tableau desktop can be distributed in many ways. We can create images and PDF of our worksheet or our workbooks and distribute it. Now for example, this is our sample worksheet which we created, and I can create an image or a PDF of this sample worksheet and distribute it. Now the problem is that these images or these PDFs are just a snapshot of a data at a particular moment, so they will be static. For example, this is a sales sheet. Now suppose tomorrow a new data comes, and according to the data this sales report, this sales sheet will change. I will again have to make an image or a PDF and distribute it, because the previous image was just a static image with this report. So we can create an image of the workbook or a PDF of the workbook and we can distribute it. Also there is a thing called as Tableau reader, and now as the name says, we can read or we can only view the worksheet or the workbook. We cannot edit those worksheet and the workbook. So any of the work done in Tableau desktop can be distributed through Tableau reader, where we can only read or we can only view the report. Also this Tableau desktop which we are working in, this Tableau desktop, we can view and edit the worksheet or the workbooks here as we are doing it. Also we can distribute our work via the web using the Tableau online or the Tableau server. Also we can distribute our work using the mobile devices by having the native Tableau app with us. So while distributing our reports or our worksheets via the web using the Tableau online and the Tableau server, we can do the distributing work via two options. The first is the packaged workbook option, which contains the data, and the second is the unpackaged workbook option, which does not contain the data. Now what exactly do we mean by this packaged and unpackaged workbook, and what effect does it have on distributing the Tableau work or the Tableau reports? So for example, I am having this sample report here with me, the sample worksheet here with me. Now while saving this worksheet, I will be getting an option where I can attach the underlying database, the underlying data source, that is the dimensions and measures and the data containing in them, the sample superstore data source, with this worksheet, with this demo worksheet. So attaching the underlying data source with the worksheet is known as packaged worksheet, or we can say packaged workbook. Now when I am distributing this packaged worksheet or the workbook, the end receiver, or I can say the end user, when he receives this packaged workbook or the worksheet, he will be able to view the report, and also he will be able to do the changes in the report, because this report, this worksheet is containing the underlying data source with it. On the other hand, suppose if I want to save this worksheet and I do not want to attach the underlying data source with it, then I can simply create this worksheet and distribute it on the Tableau online or the Tableau server. This worksheet, which is not containing the underlying data source, is known as unpackaged worksheet or unpackaged workbook. Now what happens on the other end? When the receiver receives this unpackaged worksheet or the unpackaged workbook, he will not be able to make any changes inside that report or inside that worksheet because he is not having the data with him. If he wants to make the changes in that worksheet, he should be having the exact same data source which we are having with us right now. That is the sample superstore database. So in short, in unpackaged workbook, if we want to make any changes, the sender and the receiver both should have the same data source. Then and only then they will be able to make the changes in the worksheet. So in this way, the packaged workbook and unpackaged workbook are the two options where we can distribute the Tableau work via these options in the Tableau online or the Tableau server. So the distributing and the publishing of the report we saw is done via these options. But now the work done in Tableau desktop or the Tableau online or the Tableau server varies in three different aspects, which are security, data interactivity, and data freshness. So now what do we mean by these aspects? So first of all, security. Now we know that when we generate any workbook and worksheet, and when we want to share this or distribute this worksheet or our Tableau work to our end user or to our teammate in our project, so we want that worksheet or we want that Tableau work to be secure so that the reports or the information in that report does not leak out, and therefore we want our worksheets or our Tableau work to be secure, and that is where the aspect of security comes into picture. Now as we saw that in Tableau public, when we are saving our report, it saves or it is shared directly into Tableau online, and while doing that it did not ask for any security authentication or any security measures, and that is very bad because it is very unsafe. Tomorrow if someone searches the report on Tableau online, he will immediately able to get that report and the information might be leaked out. So sharing or distributing our report in means of security in Tableau public is very much unsafe. But in Tableau personal and in Tableau professional, we do have security options where we can add the security measures, and we can say that only the authorized person can view the worksheets or the workbooks. So therefore the work done in Tableau desktop is varying with the security aspect. Now the second aspect, that is the data interactivity. Now data interactivity simply means that how our reports or our worksheets or our workbooks are interacting with the data. Now as we all know that our Tableau tool can connect to many data sources, going from file connections like Excel or CSV files to the server connections like SQL Server or OData or Oracle Server or others. We can also connect our data source through the web or through the internet to the Tableau tool. So as we know that these are the various options where our Tableau tool can connect to a data source. So data interactivity means simply the worksheet or the workbook interacting with the data coming from these data source without any kind of a problem. Now for example, if we are having a sales report with us for a particular region, but we also want to see the population of that same region along with the sales, so the population data, what the Tableau can do, Tableau can connect to that data source which is having that population data of that particular region, and on the same report itself we can see the sales of that region along with the population of that region. So in this way the data interactivity is varying when we are doing our work in Tableau desktop. So in this way the data interactivity aspect is varying with the different versions of Tableau desktop. Now the last aspect, that is the data freshness. Now as the name says, data freshness, it means how much fresh or how much up to date is our data inside the data source. Now we generate our reports or our workbooks or a worksheet based on this data available in the data source. Now we all want our reports or our worksheets to be up to date when we show these reports to our end user, and for that we need our data to be updated as well. Now there are various levels of freshness of data. The first is that we can directly connect to a live data source and we can get the live data from there. Also we can connect to the cloud data source. We can connect to the cloud where our data source is present, and we can take the data from there and we can create or generate our report. Or we can take the snapshots of our data and update the data source by ourselves manually. Or what we can do is that we can schedule our data source to get updated, like after every 8 hours or after every 24 hours or after every 1 week, and so, and according to that make changes in our data or make changes in our report. In this way, the data freshness aspect varies. So now, in short, we can say that the different versions of Tableau or the work done in the different versions of Tableau vary in these three important aspects, that is the security, data interactivity and data freshness. So now, after discussing about the various options in distributing and publishing our Tableau work, we will now discuss about the various file extensions used in Tableau desktop and what is the exact meaning of those extensions. So basically there are 7 important file extensions which we need to know, that is .twb, .twbx, .tds, .tdsx, .tde, .tbm and .tps. Now we will understand each of this extension one by one. First of all, the .twb extension. It is known as Tableau Workbook. TWB, that is Tableau Workbook, and it is also known as Unpackaged Workbook. Now as discussed earlier, in distributing we have two options. Either we can go by unpackaged workbook option or by packaged workbook option. So what does this file extension actually contains? So this file extension, it contains all the information of each worksheet and each of the dashboards present in our workbook. It basically contains all the formulas, the calculations, the aggregations, formatting and styling and coloring, whatever these things are applied inside these worksheets and inside these dashboards in the workbook are present in this file extension. Also, this file extension contains the connection details of the data source, that is this the reports, the workbook which we are generating, the reports which we are generating, we are connecting it to some data source, so it will contain all the connection details of the data source. The only thing it does not contain is the actual data. And in the .twbx, that is the Tableau Workbook option with data, it is also known as the packaged workbook option. So this extension and this extension, that is .twb extension and .twbx extension, both are the same. The only difference is that .twbx contains the actual data and therefore it is known as packaged workbook, because this workbook is packaged, is containing the actual data, because this workbook has already all those things, that is the aggregations, the calculations, the formatting, the information about the worksheets and dashboards, and along with that it will contain the connection details of the data source and the actual data. So the difference between .twb and .twbx is that .twb does not contain the actual data and .twbx will contain the actual data, and all the other things are same with these both file extensions, that is the formulas and calculations and formatting and other things. So after that there is .tds and .tdsx file extensions. Now what do we mean by these extensions? So .tds, that is Tableau data source, TDS, that is Tableau data source. Now what does this file extension contain? Now this file extension will contain all the connection details of the data source used to create the reports, and it will also store the source type, that is what is the source type of our data source. Is it a Excel source, or is it a CSV source, or is it a relational source, that is SQL server or Oracle server, etc. And along with that it will contain the data type of the columns, or we can say it will store the data type of the column. Now in a data source we have many columns, and each of those columns have their specific data types. So this file extension will also store the data type of the columns. So it will store all these things, it will contain all these things. And in .tdsx it will contain all these things, that is the connection details for creating the reports, the source type, that is Excel or CSV or the relational data source, and along with that the data type of the columns. But the only difference between these two file extensions, that is .tds and .tdsx, is that .tdsx will contain the actual data. It will have the actual data along with the connection details and the source type and the data type of the columns, whereas in .tds it will not contain the actual data. So the only difference is that .tds will be having all the things, but it will not have the actual data, and in .tdsx it will have all the things same as .tds but with actual data. So it is easier to identify. If there is a X in the end of the file extension, it means that it is containing the data. In here also .twbx, it means that this file extension is packaged with the actual data. So it is easier to identify here. So now moving on to next file extension, that is .tde, that is Tableau data extract. Now what do this file extension contain? It will contain the data used in .twb file, the data used in Tableau workbook, and it will save those data in a highly compressed column format. And also it will save the aggregations and calculations and formulas. And now this file should be refreshed to get updated data from the source. So what do we mean by this data extract exactly? For example, we are having a report, a sales report generated, and that sales report will be using only a particular data, or we can say that report is generated using a particular data, that is from 10,000 to 30,000. Suppose we take the sales detail from 10,000 to 30,000. So the sales report is generated using that data itself, but our actual data source will contain more sales details, that is from 10,000 to 100,000. We do not need the whole data source, we do not need all the data, we only need the specific data so that we can generate that report again and again whenever we need. So what this .tde extension will do, it will extract that specific data from the data source. That is, for example, it will extract the data from 10,000 to 30,000, that specific data, and it will save it in a highly compressed column format. Along with this data extraction, it will also save the aggregations and calculations and formulas related to it. And after that, if we want to get an updated report, we will need to refresh that file containing that extract, and we will get the updated data from the source. So Tableau data extract means it will simply extract the specific data from the whole data source which is needed for generating a report. After that, there is .tbm file extension, that is Tableau bookmark file extension, and this file extension, it will actually contain a single worksheet which is shared easily so that it can be pasted into other workbooks. So any worksheet which we want to paste in other workbook, we will share those worksheet, or we will bookmark those worksheet, so that this bookmarked worksheet will be used in other workbooks also. And after that, there is the .tps file extension which is known as Tableau preferences. So this .tps file extension, it will actually store the color preferences which are used across all the worksheets in the workbook, so that the uniformity or the consistency of the look and feel is maintained. For example, if we are using the blue color and the green color and the red color throughout our worksheet in the workbook, then it will store all those colors so that whenever the next worksheet or the workbook is created related to that, it will use that same color, so that the consistency of the look and feel is maintained. So in this way, these are the 7 important file extensions which are generated while we are doing our Tableau work, which you need to know. So after discussing about the various file extensions here, we will now move on to the basics of Tableau interface. So this is our Tableau interface here, and this is our worksheet here. Now worksheet means where we generate our actual report, and many number of worksheets and dashboards and stories make a workbook. So generally, or we can say in short, the workbook contains many number of worksheets and dashboards and stories. On the top we see there are many toolbars here which are used for generating the report, like there is a save button here, and there is a new data source button here so that we can add our new database. There is a clear sheet so that we can clear this sheet here. So all these options are relevant to this report, and suppose in some scenarios the options are not relevant with the current report, those options will be grayed out or those options will be disabled. So here we can see this option, group members option, is disabled. This arrow which says redo option, this option is also disabled here. Now remember one thing, that these reports do not auto save, so every time we make some changes we have to manually save the report here. Now on the left hand side there are two panes here, that is data pane and analytics pane. In data pane it shows which data source is connected for this report, which data source is connected with this workbook here. So sample superstore database is connected, and whatever the database is connected, their dimensions and measures are listed down below. Suppose if two databases are connected here, so their respective dimensions and measures will be listed down here. On the bottom we see the marks or the details of this report here. It says 9 marks are present in this report, and other details, that is the total sum of this report. And here we see there is a data source pane. When we click on this data source pane, it will return to this page where we can do the joins and see our data here. Again we click on the demo worksheet pane, or again we click on the data source pane, so we can return to our report here. If I want to change the name of the report, I can change the name of the worksheet by simply double clicking, and I can change the name, or I can just right click here and I can rename the sheet. I have also an option to add a new worksheet, new dashboard or new story when I right click here. Also I have the option to add worksheets, dashboard and new story from here also. Here we have columns and rows where we drag the dimensions and measures respectively to generate our report here. Also we have a option here, that is presentation mode. If we click on this presentation mode, we can just view our reports in this presentation modes. When we want to show these reports, show these worksheets to the end user. To escape from this presentation mode, just press the escape key, and on the right hand side we see the details of this report, that is what color is which segment and what color is which detail. So blue color is the consumer segment and orange color is the corporate segment. So if we are having such colorful visualizations in our report, their details will be present on the right hand side here. And here in the analytics pane, when we go, we see the options which are used to do the analysis or calculations of forecasting. To use these options, we can simply click on these options, any one of the options, and just drag and drop these options here, and we can see the average, or we can see the analysis options here. Suppose those some options which are not suitable for this scenario, those options will be grayed out or those options will be disabled here. Now this data pane and analytics pane, I can simply minimize this pane so that I can view my report better. To again expand this page, I can just click here, and again these data and the analytics pane will be expanded. And here there are three shelves or three cards, that is marks card, filters card and pages shelves. We discussed about these three in detail in the previous videos. These are the options to get the additional details of the report. We can just right click here, or we can simply double click here and do the editing option of each of the options in the mark card. So these are the Tableau basics which we will be encountering when we will be learning this Tableau tool. So in this video we did try to learn how to save and publish a report and what are the different options in publishing a report. Also we did saw how to distribute a published report. What are the different options in distributing a published report, and along with that we saw the different versions or different editions of Tableau, what are their advantages and disadvantages, like Tableau Online or Tableau Server. And in Tableau Desktop there are three versions, that is Public Edition, Professional Edition and Personal Edition. What are their exact advantages and disadvantages? There is a Tableau Reader tool where we can read our reports, where we can view our reports, but we cannot make any changes in our reports. Also we saw that there is a native Tableau app for our mobile where we can view the reports in our cell phones. And after that we did see the different file extensions which are generated while we are working with the Tableau workbook or with the Tableau tool, and what do these file extensions exactly contain in them. And in the end we saw the basics of Tableau interface, what of these interface mean, and we will be using this Tableau interfaces every now and then to generate the workbook or to generate our worksheets. So I hope you have enjoyed this video and thank you very much.